You ever have one of those moments where your mind just goes rogue? One second you're thinking about a memory from 10 years ago, and the next you're planning what you need from the grocery store. Well, today we're going to dive into that, the internal compass that guides your thoughts and how its needle swings as we get older. So let's start with a quick poll, just for you. Right this second, where's your head at? Are you still thinking about a conversation from this morning? Are you planning what you're going to do tonight? Or are you right here, right now, just taking this in? Seriously, think about it. If that was a little tough to pin down, you are definitely not alone. Our minds are basically little time machines, constantly zipping between the past, the present, and the future. But here's the thing, it's not totally random. There's a hidden pattern to it, a kind of compass that directs where our thoughts go. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's break down this mental compass. It really only points in three main directions: reporting the past, judging the present, and expecting the future. Each one is a totally different way of thinking, with its own unique job. First up, we've got reporting the past. And you should think of this less like replaying a perfect video recording and more like a creative reenactment. See, every time you pull up a memory, your brain is actually rebuilding it on the fly, and it fills in the gaps. Which means, kind of weirdly, your memories are always changing, just a little bit. Next is judging the present. This is your mind's reality check. It's the part of you that's processing everything happening right now, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and using all your past experiences to figure out what to do next. And finally, there's expecting the future. This is your brain's amazing ability to run simulations of what might happen. It's the engine behind all our plans, our creativity, our hopes. But let's be honest, it's also our most speculative and, frankly, unreliable way of thinking. So we've got our three directions: past, present, future. Simple enough. But here's where it gets really fascinating. The balance between these three, it's not fixed at all. As we go through life, that compass needle swings in some very predictable ways. We're about to take a super quick trip through the major stages of life, from being a little kid all the way to our golden years, just to see exactly how our focus shifts over time. Let's start at the very beginning. When you're a young child, the world is just a big explosion of immediate sensations, right? The taste of candy, the feeling of a hug. It's all about pure, unfiltered, in-the-moment experience. And this chart just nails it. A whopping 70% of a child's thinking is happening right here, right now. Why? Well, those time-traveling parts of the brain, they're basically still under construction, so their whole world is incredibly immediate. And then you become a teenager. The world just cracks wide open. And suddenly, the future becomes this huge obsession, this massive landscape of what-ifs, new people, and all the different versions of yourself you could possibly become. I mean, just look at that jump. Future thinking absolutely explodes to 40%, catching right up to the present. This is all fueled by a massive dopamine surge in the teenage brain that makes the future feel so incredibly exciting. It's a good thing. It pushes us to explore. But it's also responsible for that classic teenage emotional roller coaster. So then, in young adulthood, we start to take all that future focus and actually do something with it. We shift from just dreaming about what's next to actively building it. This is when we're pouring all our energy into careers, relationships, and those big, long-term goals. So yeah, the future is still king, holding strong at 40%. But notice what's creeping up behind it? The past. It's at 30% now. We've actually lived enough to have a solid library of experiences to draw on when we make our plans. It's a pretty powerful combo, memory and ambition working together. Midlife, though, that brings another huge shift. We kind of move from building our lives to taking stock of them. It's like a great reevaluation. We start comparing where we've been to where we are, and we fine-tune what we expect from the future. And here it is. For the very first time, our mental compass points more to the past than to the future. The past hits 40%, while the future dials back to 25%. But listen, this isn't about dwelling on the good old days. It's about using a lifetime of data to make way wiser, more strategic choices. And as we get into late adulthood, that reflective turn just gets deeper. The mind's main job now becomes weaving together all those memories into a story that makes sense, to really understand the journey you've been on. And you can see it right here. The past is now the main event, a massive 55% of our thought. The future? Just a sliver at 15%.
The mind is less of a scout looking for what's over the next hill and more of an archivist, trying to figure out the meaning of the whole story. This creates this really fascinating, almost poetic symmetry. Both very young kids and patients with advanced Alzheimer's end up living mostly in the present, but for totally opposite reasons. In a child, the brain's time-traveling circuits are brand new and still being built. In an Alzheimer's patient, tragically, those same circuits have started to break down.
So, seeing how these brain circuits can be undeveloped or even decay, it kind of makes you wonder, right? Just how reliable are these different ways of thinking to begin with? I mean, can we really trust them all equally?
Well, the short answer is nope, not even close. Judging the present is our most reliable mode, at about 60 to 70% accuracy, mostly because reality is constantly giving it feedback. Reporting the past, that's a bit shakier. Our memories are prone to what's called confabulation, which is a fancy term for your brain just making stuff up to fill in the gaps. And expecting the future? Well, that's our least reliable setting by far. It's pure guesswork, and it gets easily pushed around by our hopes and our fears.
So all of this leads to a final, really powerful idea. What if our whole definition of smartness is kind of off? What if it's not just about how fast your brain works, but about the balance between speed, efficiency, and, most importantly, accuracy?
Think about it like this. In our youth, our minds are like supercars, incredibly fast, but also a little unstable. In young adulthood, we hit that sweet spot of peak speed and efficiency. But, and this is the big one, our peak for accuracy, for strategic, low-error thinking, that often doesn't arrive until midlife. We might be a bit slower, but our judgment is at its absolute sharpest. And that eventually evolves into what we'd call wisdom.
So, let's leave it with this question. Knowing where your mental compass naturally tends to point at your stage of life, that gives you a new kind of power. It's the power to consciously adjust it, to decide to be more present when you need to be, to plan for the future with more intention, or to reflect on the past with real purpose. The only question is, where are you going to point your compass next?